AITA for exposing my parents' secret when Grandma asked about the house she bought me? My name is Kate Ellis. I was 29 years old when this whole situation started. I work as an area manager at a large import and distribution company in the Los Angeles area. I started right after I graduated from college, and I am still there 7 years later. I am not doing badly, but it is nothing to brag about either. I make enough to cover my living expenses, pay my rent, and save a bit if I am careful with money. I live in a rented one-bedroom apartment in Echo Park. It has a tiny kitchen, an older bathroom, and a living room that sometimes feels like it is part of the hallway. It is not fancy, but it is my space for now. And my family situation is important because that is the root of everything. My parents, Susan and Richard Ellis, have always been complicated. When I turned 18, they sat me down at the kitchen table very seriously, as if they were about to share important news. "You are an adult now, Kate," my dad told me. "It is your turn to make your own way." My mom added with the same serious expression, "Independence is how you learn, honey." And that was the end of their support. They did not help with college costs, textbooks, gas money, or anything else. I managed on my own however I could. And the hardest part was not just that. The hardest part was seeing how it was completely different from my younger sister. My sister's name is Stephanie. She is 4 years younger than me. They gave her everything. Ever since she was born, my parents had been saving for her future. They paid for her needs without hesitation. New clothes, the latest phone, whatever she wanted. The favoritism was so clear that it hurt because they did not even try to hide it. College was really challenging for me, the kind of pressure that stays with you. I shared an old apartment with 2 roommates, Allison and Taylor. It was a rundown place with damp walls, pests in the kitchen, and a landlord who rarely fixed anything. If the water heater stopped working, it stayed that way. If there were leaks, you just placed a bucket underneath. I worked afternoons at a local grocery store to cover rent and my other expenses. I bought used textbooks whenever possible or made copies. There were weeks when I ate instant noodles for dinner or whatever simple items I could afford, sometimes the same basic meal several days in a row. The only person who truly supported me was my grandmother, Margaret. She is my dad's mom. She lives in Ventura and has always been very wise with her finances. She invested carefully over the years. She has her comfortable home, her reliable car, and the peace of mind that comes from not worrying about bills. But she also has significant hearing loss. She wears hearing aids, but she still had a lot of trouble with phone conversations and would get frustrated quickly. That is why almost all our communication was through text messages. Every few months while I was in college, I would receive a simple message from her, as if it were nothing special. "I sent you some money, sweetheart, so you do not have to go without." Suddenly I would see a bank transfer for $1,000, sometimes $1,500, or even $2,000. It was not always the same amount, but it was enough to help me breathe, buy proper food, pay for copies, or get a textbook without having to ask for help. I cried every time, a mix of frustration and relief. I would send her long messages straight from the heart. "Grandma, thank you so much. I honestly do not know what I would do without you. You helped me again." And she would reply with that warmth that lifted me up. "I am proud of you. Keep focusing on your studies. Do not give up." Thanks to her, I did not have to work 2 jobs like some of my classmates. I could attend my classes and I was able to graduate. Without her, I would not have finished college. It is that simple. And now, 7 years later, I was still working hard and saving every dollar. My dream was to own a home, not rent one. I went without almost everything. No expensive meals out, no new clothes unless absolutely necessary, no vacations. I put everything toward my savings with the goal of eventually making a down payment, even on something modest. With my family, on the other hand, I rarely spoke. My parents called me about once a month, and it was not to check on me. It was usually to complain about traffic, life, or other people. Stephanie sometimes messaged me, but it was mostly to share her highlights. I saw her social media posts with designer bags, meals at upscale places, and beach getaways, while I was in my small apartment carefully budgeting for groceries. It made me upset, but it also left me feeling guilty because Grandma Margaret was getting older. Her health was not the same, and I did not visit her as often as I should have. But I came home exhausted from 10-hour workdays plus the heavy freeway traffic and everything else. Weekends were spent catching up on life. Still, I texted her when I could, but it always felt like it was not enough. Then my 30th birthday approached, and I decided to do something different. I sent a message to my grandmother. "Grandma, I want you to come visit. Even if it is just for a short time, I want to see you." I was excited like a child, imagining having her in my living room, in my life, not just on a phone screen. But she replied that she was not feeling well, had some health concerns, and would not be able to travel to Los Angeles. "I feel bad about it, sweetheart," she wrote. "But I already left your present with your parents. They will bring it to you." I felt disappointed, of course, but I understood. Health comes first. The day arrived. I invited 3 friends from work: Hannah, Ben, and Lisa. Nothing fancy. Pizza, sodas, and a simple cake from the local bakery. My living room looked small, but it felt cheerful. My parents and Stephanie arrived last, as usual. They walked in and immediately started with their typical comments. "It is really small, Kate," my mom said, looking around as if inspecting the space. My dad glanced up at the ceiling light. "The lighting is not great. You can barely see well." Stephanie did not even greet me. She dropped onto the couch and started scrolling on her phone as if she were at home. They handed me their gifts. My mom gave me an inexpensive perfume, my dad a gift card to a restaurant I never visited, and Stephanie a book I had no interest in. It was clear they had picked it up quickly on the way. "Oh, and this is from your grandmother," my mom said, pulling a box from a bag. It was a beautiful vase made of heavy, fine glass that felt high quality the moment you touched it. "She wanted you to have it," she added. "Thank you," I said. Though inside I felt a bit odd. I did not know why, but it seemed like too much for an ordinary gift. They stayed for about half an hour. I glanced at the clock. Stephanie stayed on her phone. My mom complained about the traffic on the freeway. My dad checked the time as if he had somewhere important to be. "Well, we should get going," my mom announced suddenly. "We have other things to take care of." "Yes, the day is getting away from us," my dad said, already reaching for his jacket. And just like that, they left. My friends stayed longer. We had a nice time and laughed together. But when they left and I was alone, the quiet hit me hard. I sat on the couch holding the vase. It was lovely, yes, but I really wanted my grandmother there. I wanted a call or a visit. I sent her a message. "Thank you, Grandma. It is beautiful." A month after my birthday, I returned to my usual routine of work, unfinished tasks, and tiredness. Until one Tuesday afternoon, while I was at my desk reviewing reports, I received a call. It was Rebecca, my cousin. I had not spoken to her in months. "What is going on, Rebecca?" I asked, expecting family news, but her voice sounded off and tense. "Kate, I have to tell you something. I am in shock." "What are you talking about?" "About Stephanie buying a house." "How? She is so young. Where did she get the money?" I stared at my computer screen trying to process it. "What are you saying? What house?" There was a pause, and then Rebecca lowered her voice. "Do not tell me you did not know. You really had no idea." I felt my stomach drop. "Rebecca, I have no idea. 2 days ago was her housewarming party. It was big, with around 50 people. The house is nice, not a mansion but very comfortable. And everyone was asking about you." "I was not invited," I said, feeling a lump in my throat. "I figured as much. And listen to this. Your parents told people that you did not come because you do not like parties, that you are very private, and that those kinds of events make you uncomfortable." My face felt hot. "That is not true. And it gets worse," she continued. "I overheard your mom talking to mine. She said you were jealous and bitter because Stephanie was able to buy a house at such a young age." I became so upset that my hands trembled. Jealous, bitter. I had not even known about it. "Kate, it is really unfair," Rebecca said quietly. I hung up and sat holding my phone for a long time. Stephanie, 25 years old, recently out of college, working part-time as a barista at a coffee shop. How could she afford a house? Did not make sense. The next day I called Stephanie directly. She answered after a few rings. "Stephanie, I heard you bought a house. Why did you not invite me?" She laughed. "Oh, Kate, you never come to those kinds of things. We all know that. That is not true. And you know it. If you had invited me, I would have been there. Come on, it is not a big deal. I took a deep breath to stay calm. Where did you get the money for the house, Stephanie? There was silence and her tone turned cold. My parents gave it to me. What do you mean they gave it to me? Exactly that, and it is not your concern. I have things to do. And she ended the call. The following months were difficult. Stephanie posted photos of her new house, the yard, and her new belongings. Thanks to my parents for making this possible, the caption said. Every post felt painful. I remembered struggling with cheap meals and budgeting for gas while they had apparently set aside money to give her a house. Almost 3 months passed since that call when my parents' 35th wedding anniversary approached. And even though it felt strange, I wanted to attend. I wanted to be there for my grandmother, to try to close this chapter in a respectful way. I bought them a nice gift, a good quality photo frame with a printed picture of their wedding day. Cost me almost $150. For me that was a significant expense, but I chose it with meaning. I learned the date and location because my mom had posted about it on social media. An elegant restaurant in Beverly Hills with invitations and all the details, as if it were a major event. They did not call me or send a personal invitation, but I thought they were busy with planning and it had slipped their minds. 3 days before the anniversary, I received a message from Grandma Margaret. I am feeling better lately. What a joy to celebrate your parents' anniversary. It will be so nice to see you in person again, sweetheart. I was thrilled. I was finally going to see her and spend time with her. The next day my mom called. Hi Mom. I am looking forward to Saturday. I already got something for you and Dad. Her voice sounded uneasy. Kate, we need to talk about Saturday. Yes, what is it? We made some adjustments and decided it would be best if you did not attend. I felt stunned. What do you mean you do not want me there? We had to limit the number of guests and you do not need to be there. You can stop by the house another day to congratulate us. Why do you not want me there? But she ended the call abruptly. I sat on the edge of my bed, phone in hand, struggling to believe it. In the past I might have stayed home and dealt with the hurt quietly, but not this time. Grandma Margaret would be there waiting for me. I was not going to let my parents keep me away from her. The next day I sent the gift through a delivery service with a note. I hope you have a wonderful anniversary. On Saturday, late in the afternoon to avoid the worst freeway traffic, I got ready. I put on my best dress, did simple makeup, got in my car and drove to the restaurant. When I entered the banquet hall, I saw about 40 people seated at tables. Grandma Margaret was at the main table up front. She looked smaller than I remembered, but she wore a lovely blue dress, her hair nicely styled, and a diamond necklace that stood out because I had never seen it before. As soon as my parents spotted me, they looked alarmed. My mom quickly came over with a forced smile. Kate, what are you doing here? I told you not to come, she whispered. My dad followed right behind. This is not the right time. Please leave. I was about to respond when my grandmother noticed me. Because of her hearing difficulty, she spoke loudly with joy in front of everyone. Kate, my beautiful granddaughter. What a happiness to see you. All heads turned. My parents froze. My grandmother continued directing things at the table as she always did. Richard, Susan, bring Kate over right now so she can sit next to me. I have not seen her in years. With everyone watching and forced smiles, my parents had no choice. They led me to the table. Stephanie was sitting on the other side of my grandmother. As soon as I sat, they had her shift over. Her expression hardened. Now this feels right, my grandmother said, holding my hand. This is a real celebration. Dinner began. People offered toasts. What a beautiful marriage. What an example of a close family. An uncle spoke about how generous my parents were. An aunt mentioned what good parents they had been. I listened and wondered who they were describing because it did not match my experience. My grandmother squeezed my hand now and then. I am so glad you came, sweetheart. I looked at her and felt a wave of emotion. She looked tired, but her eyes were still sharp. In the middle of dinner, after the main course was served, my grandmother turned to me and, as if it were the most ordinary thing, asked, Kate, how has it been living in the house I purchased for your 30th birthday? It felt like the air left the room. Silence fell. I felt my chest tighten. I leaned toward her ear and spoke clearly. Grandma, I do not know about any house. My parents gave me a vase. They said it was from you. My grandmother's expression shifted from confusion to anger. A vase? What vase? That is when I heard two forks drop at the same time. I turned. My parents had dropped their silverware. My dad's hands were shaking. My mom looked pale, her eyes glistening. People began glancing our way. Some sat with mouths open. Others looked between the main table and my parents, trying to understand. Grandma Margaret sat up straighter and turned to them with a very stern look. Richard, Susan, you are going to explain to me right now where the money I gave you to buy a house for Kate went. No one made a sound. My dad tried to stay calm with a shaky voice. Mom, it is better if we discuss this privately. No, she said firmly. I want to know right now. I gave you the funds 3 months ago. I spoke with the real estate agent. I made sure everything was arranged at the title company so the deed would be in Kate's name. I gave you the keys to hand to her on her birthday. Where is that house? My dad stood up. The chair scraped against the floor. His whole body trembled. My mom was crying quietly, hiding behind her napkin. Then my dad spoke as if the words were being pulled from him. Mom, we gave it to Stephanie. Gasps filled the room. A glass clinked loudly. My grandmother's face flushed with anger. What? Stephanie stood up quickly, looking upset. That house is mine. My parents gave it to me. I am not giving it to anyone. Stephanie, sit down, my grandmother said firmly. No, I already live there. It is my house. The situation became a public scene. People were watching. Some pulled out their phones. Stephanie was emotional and upset, saying no one was going to take it from her. My parents seemed frozen and I could hardly speak. I felt a mix of anger, embarrassment, and a deep sadness that felt all too familiar. My grandmother stood up calmly, but her calm was serious. Richard, Susan, come here. My parents approached slowly. My grandmother adjusted her hearing aid, leaned in, and lowered her voice for the first time that evening. She whispered something. I could not hear the words, but I saw my dad's face go even paler. I saw my mom cover her mouth. I saw my dad nodding quickly and desperately. After a couple of minutes, they returned to the table looking shaken. My dad stood and addressed the room with a trembling voice. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate it, but we need to end the gathering early. It is time for everyone to head home. People began to stand and leave, talking among themselves. I caught fragments. What a surprise! Did you hear about the house? Poor girl. How could they do that? Stephanie was crying but no longer raising her voice, her face in her hands. I turned to Grandma Margaret. Grandma, would you like to leave with me? You can stay at my apartment. She held my hand. Yes, sweetheart. I do not plan to stay with them after this. I helped her with her purse and coat. I will arrange to have your things brought over, I told her. We will take them to my place. That is fine, she replied firmly. We walked out together while my parents tried to explain to the few guests who remained. In my car, I arranged a pickup service for her belongings. My parents lived in Pasadena, not too far from my apartment in Echo Park, so it could be handled quickly. It is a suitcase and a bag with her medications, I explained. They belong to Mrs. Margaret. Please make sure it is delivered to Kate. We arrived at my apartment. My grandmother sat down heavily on the couch. She looked worn out from the evening. A couple of hours later, the delivery service arrived with her suitcase and medications. I tipped the driver and brought everything inside. Everything is here, Grandma. She looked at me with deep sadness. Thank you, Kate. You are such a good person. Forgive me. It took me too long to see what was happening with your parents. That night we talked more openly than ever. I shared my whole story with her. College struggles, my jobs, the shared apartment, my parents stopping support when I turned 18. I told her about Stephanie and the clear differences in treatment. Then we returned to the dinner. I could not let it go. I do not understand how they thought they could keep this from you, I said. Did they really believe you would never find out? My grandmother sighed. I think they hoped I would not be around long enough to discover it. They have seen my health decline. They thought I might not be able to travel or that something would happen soon. My chest tightened. That is really painful. There was a pause. Then she spoke with a firmness that surprised me. Your dad sent me photos. He showed me pictures of the house and told me you were happy and loved it. I believed him because he is my son and I wanted to believe it. I got up, retrieved the vase and placed it on the table. This is what they gave me instead of the keys. My grandmother picked it up, turned it in her hands and we both started laughing. It was a strange laugh, the kind that happens when you are not sure whether to cry or scream. A vase instead of a house, she said, wiping her eyes. It is beautiful, sweetheart, but it is not a home. When we stopped laughing, her face became serious again. Kate, I need to tell you something. What I said to your parents privately was this. Your dad has had access to my accounts for years out of trust. When they needed money for Stephanie's expenses or their own, they took it. My eyes widened. What? You did not know. I trusted him. I saw the transactions and he always had an explanation, so I let it go. She took a deep breath. Starting tomorrow that ends. I am revoking their access. I will change passwords, authorizations, everything necessary. I did not know what to say. My hands shook. And not only that, she continued, I am also changing my will. I had planned to divide things between you two. Not anymore. The majority will go to you. I felt my eyes sting. Grandma. Actions show true intentions, she told me softly but firmly. Your parents and Stephanie will receive the minimum, just enough that they cannot claim they were forgotten. But nothing more. We talked until nearly 2 in the morning. When we finally went to bed, I felt a closeness with her that I had never experienced, as if someone finally saw me fully. The next morning there was a knock at the door. It was my parents. They looked exhausted from lack of sleep. My dad held a set of keys. These are for you, he said, avoiding my eyes. The keys to the house. I took them without a word, not out of forgiveness but because they had belonged to me from the beginning. It was clear my grandmother had set firm limits they could not push against. That same day I left early to avoid traffic and drove my grandmother back to her home in Ventura. She was going to handle the bank matters and update her will with her notary and trusted estate attorney there. We hugged tightly. I will see you soon, she said. Yes, Grandma, definitely now. Afterward, I drove straight to see the house. My house. It was in Burbank in a quiet neighborhood. It was small but charming, with a little front yard and flower pots under the windows. It looked well maintained. When I stepped inside, I noticed details that turned my stomach. My parents had chosen it with Stephanie in mind, not me. The kitchen had pink accents. The bedroom was painted purple, her favorite color. There were touches arranged in a style that suited her. But legally it was mine. The first thing I did was call a locksmith and change all the locks. Then I contacted my landlord to give notice that I would be moving out of the apartment. I was moving into my house. A week later, Stephanie showed up. She knocked loudly on the door. I opened it and saw her. She looked exhausted with messy hair, a swollen face from crying and wrinkled clothes. Kate, I need to talk to you, she said, trying to sound kind but struggling. What is it? I am back living with our parents and it is difficult. They are making me look for a full-time job. They are not giving me money anymore. They argue about everything. I felt a cold disappointment. Let me stay here with you. Just until I get on my feet. Just for a short time. I looked at her, surprised by her request. No, Stephanie. This is my house. But we are sisters, she insisted, tears forming. Sisters support each other. I took a deep breath. Sisters do not take what belongs to each other. Sisters do not hide important things. Sisters do not leave each other out. Her expression hardened. Just get over it, Kate. I have gotten past it, I told her. That is why you cannot come in. And I closed the door. In the following weeks, my parents called repeatedly. They apologized, sounded emotional, and begged. Kate, please, my mom would say. Talk to your grandmother. Ask her not to change the will. It was a mistake. I would pause and reply with the truth. You are not sorry for what happened. You are sorry it came out. And I blocked their numbers. 6 months have passed since that anniversary dinner. I have not spoken to my parents or Stephanie. The most surprising part is that I do not miss the ongoing tension, the comparisons, or the feeling that I was never enough. My house already feels like a true home. I repainted the walls over the pink and purple with calm, neutral tones that I like. I bought furniture that suits my style, and in the backyard I started a small garden. It is nothing large, but it brings me joy to watch it grow. The best part is that I now visit Grandma Margaret often. Every other weekend I drive to Ventura. We cook together, watch classic movies, and talk for hours. She is teaching me how she built her financial security, the decisions she made, and how she managed her money wisely. A month ago she looked at me with bright eyes and said, "You are the granddaughter I always hoped for. Smart, hardworking, and honest. Your sister was raised to expect things, but you turned out different." Last week, my grandmother's estate attorney called to let me know that the will has been updated. When she passes, hopefully many years from now, I will inherit the majority. My parents and Stephanie will each receive a modest amount, a little under $5,000, nothing more. Just enough so they cannot say they were overlooked. I am still working at the same company, but I no longer live with the constant worry that everything could fall apart if I get sick or face an unexpected issue. Now I can enjoy a meal out occasionally, buy clothes when needed without guilt, and consider time off without feeling like I am risking my future. Sometimes I see Stephanie's posts. She is living with my parents again. She has a retail job that she clearly dislikes. She shares quotes about how life is unfair and mentions ungrateful family. I do not feel pity for the situation. My parents still try to reach me through other relatives. They ask people to convince me to forgive them, saying it is in the past and we are family. I always give the same response. They chose to give away what was meant for me. I chose to set clear boundaries and move forward with my life. Some people say I am being too firm. They are your parents, they tell me. She is your sister. But I learned a lesson I should have understood earlier. Being family does not give anyone the right to hurt you repeatedly. Family should support you, not take advantage of you. They should protect what is yours, not redirect it to someone else. They should celebrate your successes, not give them away. I do have family. Grandma Margaret is the one who truly cared, the one who took action when she learned the truth, and the one who did not ask me to stay silent to avoid discomfort. For the first time in my adult life, I am at peace. I have my house, I have stability, and I have someone who supports me genuinely. It took me 30 years, but I finally have what I deserved. Comment. This story deeply touched me, and I hope it resonated with you too. I've come to understand how important it is to truly know your own worth. Setting healthy boundaries, even with family, can be an act of self-respect. Real love and support should lift you up and never make you feel small. Healing often starts when we finally choose to stop accepting what hurts us. Taking responsibility for your own peace is one of the most powerful things you can do. It's okay to choose yourself and create the life you deserve. I hope this encourages you to reflect on the relationships in your life. You deserve kindness, honesty, and genuine care from those around you. Let's keep moving forward with more self-respect and inner peace. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.